All right, welcome to the final session, the final battle of Rhapsody of Blood, Red Moon Rising, the playtest of my gothic punk castle exploration game for the Gauntlet Hangouts. We start in the middle of a terrific battle. The Regent, a ecclesiastically robed figure up on the center of a basilica, surrounded by hordes of willing acolytes and a halo of fire, recently frozen by some great power of a spirit, stares down above you. For a final time, the three of you, do you want to introduce your characters and say how we see them in this final confrontation? Go with Hector first.
Sure. So let's see. As we see Hector now, we see a relatively short, slight male, tattooed sigils all over his body. He originally started out this adventure kind of covered in ritual mud as well, which got washed away as we made kind of an underwater traversal after a while. The most striking thing, and the thing that probably most people would notice to the exclusion of all other things, are his eyes at the moment. So one of the upgrades he took very early on was Chaos Eyes, and I kind of built this character around eye-based stuff. So his eyes are kind of this black star field with like stars and nebulae and stuff kind of shifting around in them, and he uses those for interesting effects as we go. But that's his most prominent thing we're seeing right now.
Nice. And he has just summoned a wall of the castle into being, where before there was a empty corridor. Well, not empty, but filled with minions charging towards you. So now, thanks to Hector's reshaping of the castle with his will, you are isolated in the center of the basilica with the regent and a few select guards. Alexandria, how do we see you in this confrontation? And how have you changed since the start?
Ooh, that's a good question. So Alexandria, sorry, losing my notes. Alexandria is a member of the Archivists. She is awesome. She is also member of the Archivists. They're a holy church. They save artifacts. She has scrawled around her arm the title of a text that is the text of her, what is she? The Bonded. She is the Bonded play sheet. She has scrawled around her arm a tattoo of the title of a myth, on which she draws power. She draws these spirits into existence, and I can't for the life of me remember what we just did in this past scene, other than calling up the wall and the pack rat falling into a pocket dimension of some sort.
Yes. So as the pack rat above you quelled the ringing bell by sucking it into his void bag and disappearing along with it, you, Alexandria, summoned the power of that spirit, that shield maiden, in some great representation of its apotheosis. You directed that power outwards towards the regent, smashing asunder the burning eyes that surrounded them, and then collapsed from the exhaustion of it. Caught by Julia, I think. So, Julia, how have you changed since we first saw you?
So Julia is she's a Middle Eastern woman who has a very frail body. She's a member of the Starved, which is the half-damned house. And her biggest change is that she grew a third arm out of one of her shoulder blades that is mostly just skeletal. And this happened when she managed to lay to rest the spirit of the beast that had cursed her entire line to their half-damned state.
Lovely. All right. So the three of you then are standing between the pews at the base of this grand dais that the Regent, Giacomo Borgia, was in the middle of being crowned on. He is standing there, resplendent in flowing crimson robes, holding a grand staff, and he points it at you. He says, "You are impure. You are twisted by the sins that you have committed. Do you bow towards my judgment, or will you be purified?" Alexandria, you're just sort of waking up and sort of coming back to yourself after that great blast of power. And you can see in his eyes there's this burning fire behind the pupils.
Yeah, how about no? I think sort of nod to Julia and get up and prepare myself for battle.
Okay. Julia, Alexandria steps away from you. She's ready. You don't need to devote your efforts to keeping her safe. What does this free you to do?
I'm gonna take this little lapse in the action to. So I have this ability. It's called Eyes on the Inside, where I can perceive the intangible and the immaterial, and I kind of want to see what is powering this regent. Like, are there lines of power coming off of him? So I roll with Mercury, if I'm using that.
Yes.
And that was a 9.
All right. Were you looking to see clear, as in ask questions, or line it up, as in detect a weak spot?
I think line it up. I'm specifically looking if there's like a source of power that he's drawing from.
All right. So you do spot some sort of opening. Where in the environment would you say that he is drawing power from?
I'm going to say it's the throne.
Okay, cool. So it's actually, that same throne that your ancestors saw the first time the castle emerged. There it was at the end of a giant hallway, flanked by burning pyres. Now it's in the middle of this dais where you'd normally expect an altar to be. And yes, you can tell that there are lines of force just pouring off of it. Through your spiritual sight, it's almost like it's a fountain. You know, this power is just sort of fountaining out of it and then dripping down its sides and pooling on the dais and then surging up the regent. So you need to pick 2 of the options for line it up.
Right. I think I'm going to make the foe makes me his highest priority. He sees my gaze go towards the throne and can see some kind of knowing on my face. And I think attempts to use the opening without 1 weapon perk have disadvantage.
Okay. What weapon perk do you reckon that would be?
I think since this is such a large, solid structure, it needs to be something that can like crush and break apart a very solid throne.
Okay. So probably hefty?
Yeah, let's go with hefty. I don't even know if anyone has a hefty weapon.
Oh, they do.
Okay, good.
So do you communicate this to the other explorers?
Yeah. And I think that's part of what grabs the regent's attention to me. I'm in the middle of saying, break the throne, and that's when he focuses on me.
Okay. So, yes, he is... he looks to you and actually leaps off the dais towards you. Well, starts running with fire springing up where his feet touch the floor. But you shout, "Crush the throne." Who is taking advantage of that?
I'll go for it. I've got
Okay.
eyes that can make this work. One of my tags is hefty on these starlight eyes I've got. So I think
Lovely.
if I see that, I mean my eyes go from Julia straight over to the to the throne, and I think in the TV version, you'd see like a close up of my face with the throne reflected in these star fields, and then the eyes start to glow, just steadily brighter and brighter, and then just kind of
Lovely.
blast straight at the throne.
All right, that sounds like a strike.
All right. So that is. What will I be
What stat would that
rolling
be?
with on this? Yeah. I think.
I
I mean,
think
it's
either
precise insight based on. It could be precise insight based on his intel, or it could be physical force, depending on
I
whether
think it's either physical force or sorcery. Your
Okay.
choice.
Sure.
Because it's very
I'm
direct, so that's sort of
equally
where iron comes in. It's smashing
totally.
the thing.
That's fair. I'm equally bad at both of those, so I'm gonna go. I think. Yeah, I think this is brute force. Just kind of I got the gist of what Julia was saying, and this is my attempt to just blast this thing to hell. So I think I'll roll with iron
Nice.
if that works. All
Sounds
right.
good.
6, and that's +0. So we will see what happens. Ooh, brutal. 4.
Okay. Wow.
Start off
So
strong.
what happens is Giacomo surges towards your group, and as you fire this beam of starlight, as it passes sort of over his shoulder towards the throne, it actually bends like it's being refracted by some sort of force and just sort of curves off and smashes into the basilica elsewhere. And then as you're sort of like pondering the implications of that, as you are known to do, he's suddenly among you, and he has pushed the two of you back with some sort of intangible force surrounding him and grabbed Julia and lifted her high with that. And Julia, you're starting to feel heat and fire from his hand.
At this point, yeah, I'm gonna try and just wriggle however I can to get out. I imagine I can't really grab my sword or bring it to bear because he has me grappled. So I'm just trying to break free.
All right, give me a Mercury roll for dodge.
And I do have this ability where I gain advantage on dodge specifically. I don't know if that would apply here.
That definitely would, because of your unnatural agility. You don't quite have as much flesh on your bones as normal people would, so it's easier for you to wriggle out of this.
Okay. So that is an 11.
Nice. All right. So you pick 2 options from dodge.
I'm going to avoid taking harm.
All right.
And I think that his heedless pursuit creates an opening. I don't know if it's the same one or a slightly different one, but
okay. So what I'll say then is, so you do wriggle out of his grasp, being sort of, well, bonier than he expects, and but he's quick to react, and even as you sort of drop from his hand, he's advancing on you, and you need to keep backing up until you're sort of pressed against the wall that Hector had summoned, and so there's a sort of triangle with him in the middle, you against the wall, and the other two more in the center of the room. So Alexandria, you're more of a close combat specialist. Hector's eye beams haven't really worked, and Julia is in a spot here. But on the other hand, he has turned away from you. What do you do?
Yeah, I'm. What am I doing? So I've already used, if I remember correctly, I've already used apotheosis, right? So that's where the spirit reveals its true form. I think I want to help her, and I think I'm going to use medium to summon a spirit of place, the unquiet dead, or a lesser imp or seraph. They will not be hostile, at least at first. And so I imagine this as perhaps one of the shield maidens, one of her like personal guards or something to that effect.
Okay.
And I want to summon them between. I want to summon this spirit between Julia and this is the Regent that we're fighting,
Yes,
or is this? Okay. I want to summon them between, and while he's distracted by that, I want to strike.
Okay, that sounds cool. Yeah, so he sort of is reaching to try and grab Julio again, but then suddenly a shield is in his way, pushing him back, and you take advantage of his surprise. How?
Let's see. Do I have anything? What do I have on me?
You can just hit him with your staff, I suppose.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do that until I come up with a better idea. Yeah, I'm gonna take his legs out from under him.
Oh, okay, nice.
So
that sounds like Mercury to me.
Okay.
Guile and stealth.
Mercury. Oh, that's not good.
You can change your approach if you like.
No. Stick with it. Committed.
Okay.
I don't know why it will not let me enter something into the chat. Hell yeah, that's a 10.
Nice.
Damn.
Okay, so you swing your staff around and take his legs out from under him. Okay, so you can damage one of his qualities. So I'll say probably what's available to you at the moment is you can either stop him from doing the thing where he grabs people and tries to cleanse their impurities, or you can disrupt his concentration from the fall enough that sort of weird aura that deflected the star beams and pushed you away from Julia can't be maintained any longer.
Yeah, the second one.
Okay, nice. So his aura of sanctuary is gone. Okay. Oh, and I don't even have to get to pick one because you got a 10. Nice. There's a flash away to a marble-floored museum elsewhere in the castle, and Saint's bones dissolving away, crumbling as he tries to draw power from them and fails. But then what happens is, seeing their ruler brought down, the acolytes that are still in this ring rush forwards, trying to save him, trying to get between him and you. They have those staffs and with bells on the end, and they're trying to sort of ring them to cleanse your impurities, push away your supernatural abilities. That isn't working because the main bell has been silenced, but they're still trying to like club you around the heads with them. Yeah, Julia, you're the Regent is sort of sprawled and is just picking himself up. Do you take advantage of this to regroup with the other people, or try to do something about all these minions?
My main focus, I think, is on the Regent. So unless there's someone like directly in my way, I'm not really going to bother with the minions. I'm a very focused one track mind kind of person. So while he's down, I guess is there anything else that's he's obviously drawing power from, or?
Well, I mean, there's still the throne.
There's still the throne, right? Yeah. I did say hefty, but I do have holy blade.
So yeah, you'll just have disadvantage on the attack. You can still try it.
Right. So yeah, I'm gonna go up to the throne. And instead of just like directly attacking it with my blade, because it's just a little ceremonial dagger, I'm gonna try and do some bloodletting ritual to, I don't know, make the air around it more dense and crush the throne.
Oh, interesting. So trying to sort of deconsecrate it in many ways.
Yeah.
Right. So first up, though, you're going to have to get through this mob of acolytes.
Okay.
How do you do that? Do you try and just fight your way through them, sneak past them, run over their heads?
Oh, I think what I do actually, I'm gonna use my unquiet flesh to harden my skin and just kind of push my way through, letting their blades just like bounce off of me.
Okay, cool. That all right. Do you want to give me a Mercury roll? And
Mercury?
I'm going to give you an advantage on this.
Okay.
So this is for flow like water.
That is a 12.
Lovely. Yeah. All right. So you gain an advantageous position, which is next to the throne.
Excellent. Yeah, and then I'm going to start the ritual.
Okay. Give me a sulfur roll with disadvantage.
With disadvantage, yeah.
Now, theoretically, this probably would be a good time for any of the other two to chip in and help if you wanted to.
Does that need to be before the roll?
Let me try. It doesn't particularly matter either way. Obviously, it flows better if it's before the roll, but
okay.
Well, I'd like to ask a spirit for advice about how exactly to conduct this ritual, maybe.
Oh, okay, yeah. You could send one of the spirits you've summoned over to Julia to advise her.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So that would probably be a sulfur roll to help.
Is this help or is this spectral knowledge?
We can just run it as help. That's simple enough.
So you said this is sulfur?
Yes.
And it did it again.
7
+ 2, that's a 9.
Okay, all right. So you're exposed to harm, danger, or unexpected cost, but that's fine. So I'd say you're probably concentrating on sending this spirit over to advise Julia, and you don't notice that two of those regents coming up behind, acolytes coming up behind you and grabbing you as you do so. But Julia, there's suddenly this spirit next to you whispering advice, sensing the flows of magic and helping you out. So this will cancel out the disadvantage.
Great.
You're suffering. So just roll straight plus sorcery.
And that's a 12.
Nice. Okay. Do you want to describe it for us? What happens?
Yeah. So I'm starting this ritual, and as a mystic, I have kind of some self-taught knowledge on the basics of magic. But this spirit that pops up on my shoulder is, oh no, you should use this symbol instead of that symbol because of, Saturn is in ascendancy right now. Oh, going back and forth and having like some little arguments and stuff like that. And then after about 5-ish minutes or, a couple minutes, there's a surge of power and the blood that I've been drawing in turns into like a solid weight, almost like just it transmutes into like a solid metal that just sinks into the throne and cracks through it.
Nice. That's very cool. All right. Okay, in the melee at the foot of the dais, Hector, you've been sort of dodging these acolytes waving their staves at you. And you glance over to Alexandria and see her being grabbed by two of these acolytes. And they're sort of trying to bear her towards the regent, who's picking himself up. The flames that were burning in his eyes have now sort of spread across his upper body. But you can see that it's his flesh now that's crisping and burning as the power that was feeding them gutters, and they seek to consume him instead. But he is reaching out with a burning hand towards Alexandria. What do you do?
Let's see. So how close am I to what's going on there, I guess, is my question.
You're all part of the same fight, so to speak.
Okay.
So you might be able to break free and physically intervene, or...
Right. Okay. Let's see. I think I'm interested in using this in some way. I'm going to try and reshape the castle, by marking contamination for this world's away ability. What I want to do is, so I'm imagining we're relatively close. Like, would I have to do anything to be able to break away from the ones that I've been with first to be able to get over closer towards Alexandria and the Regent right now?
You probably need to either fight through them or avoid them.
Okay. Let's see. I think my move would be to get away from them would be to kind of very carefully like pick out like the line of like where they're like stepping, and as they're coming towards me, and try and kind of like do a sweeping eye beam, with my chaos eyes kind of across the ground in a way just to kind of like give me a bit of like space to be able to move. So just kind of, yeah, I think that would be the way that I'd give myself the opening to get over there.
Okay. Yeah.
Not sure what that would trigger here.
That'll probably be face the horde, I think.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you're sort of assaulting them to try and make them not a threat, you know?
Right. Okay. It's 10.
A lot of 10. Nice.
Yes.
All right. So pick one from the list.
Okay. I'll take the corruption.
Okay.
I'm already at 4 blood, but let's play dangerous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to match Alexandria after all.
Absolutely.
All right. So you send your eye beams into the floor of the basilica and send up a whole cloud of smoke and stone chips and a blast that knocks back the acolytes that were advancing on you. And you charge through this cloud towards the Regent, who you can see is turning away from their reach towards Alexandria to turn and see you.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you do?
I think I reach out. I see the all right. So his burning hand is reaching towards Alexandria as it's being done, right?
Yeah.
As Alexandria is being born that direction. I think we'll see, like, as I'm making my way over there, I'm reaching out towards his burning hand, and I think we see like fingertips like touch, and then I'm going to use my world's away ability to reshape the castle here. It says I can like make us separated by a deep chasm, a barricade, or a surging river, or whatever. I think it's going to be a wall of flame that is like, as intense or more than what's burning away, that power in his body right now.
Lovely.
So I think it's gonna like just kind of like I touch the finger, and then the flame on his hand kind of explodes into this wall between us.
Nice. All right. Yes, there's a sort of rumble and a crack, and you can see the floor part even, and then as this jet of flame just sort of pours up from it, separating the two of you. Alexandria, this, shall we say, upsets the acolytes holding you, and you can feel their grip loosen. What do you do?
Okay, so I will use this move before this playtest is out. So I want to use the flesh is weak.
Okay. Yeah.
in which I mumble a prayer, perhaps the first few lines of this myth, and concentrate the castle's corruption in. It says one part of an explorer's body. Can I do like arms?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And actions using the corrupted body part have advantage. But every time the ritual, so long as the ritual continues, the explorer marks an additional point every time they mark corruption. Okay, so I want to channel the corruption in my body into my arms and use that to sort of slam these yokels together, perhaps into the firewall itself.
All right, nice. Give me an iron roll with advantage then.
That's an 11 plus. What's on here? Plus 0. No, I didn't roll a third, but it's an 11 anyway.
Yeah, it's fine. All right, so yeah, I can imagine sort of this power from your hands just sort of turning black, almost black like obsidian, with veins of darkness moving up your arms, but your hands are obviously just pure, gleaming black, and you just, with them, throw with superhuman strength these two guys holding you into that wall of fire. What option do you pick from Face the Horde?
Face the Horde. Okay. That does make sense. I was going to say you get some on you mark corruption. Now it's an arms race.
Right, okay.
But maybe that's not... maybe more coming. Maybe that makes it a little bit more interesting.
Okay. All right. So you throw these away from you, but leaving you and Hector sort of free. But you realize you're in a very narrow circle of these acolytes pressing in. There are dozens and dozens of them. You can see actually some scaling that wall that's surrounding this place and just sort of dropping down. And sure, the first few die from the fall, but the next few have a soft landing. So just this sort of tide cresting in and coming towards you. And you're sort of pressed up against this wall of fire by them. And on the other side, you can hear the Regent sort of shouting in pain and then trying to sort of recite Latin prayers to push it away and calling on whatever god he serves for help. Julia, you've finished performing your ritual, and you're now standing at the center of the basilica. You can see this crest of minions over the wall going towards where you assume Alexandria and Hector are, but there's a wall of fire between you and them, and the Regent on your side of it. He is sort of smashing his hands into trying to shove his hand into the wall of fire and then pulling it back, smoking, and shaking it out, and then glancing around for any sort of advantage. And you can see his eyes focusing on you. What's the plan?
Oof. I'm pretty exhausted. I've been expending a lot of my resources left and right. And it's looking like this is gonna take another big push. I think. Oof. I'm kind of. I think at this point, I would just pull my dagger, match gaze with the Regent, and just kind of, do the epic stare down, bring it on.
All right. So he will gather himself and then run towards you. He's streaming this now smoking and dark oily flame as he goes. He's almost just a sort of like burning figure. You can sort of barely see the clothes and body underneath the flames. And yeah, he is leaping up and trying to smash you as he sails towards you with his burning fists.
Okay. So how does the armament work on our sheets? Is that like a one
No, you can just
thing?
use that.
Okay. So I have a last ditch ice burst, which I used once on him, and I think we established it's like a vial of blue liquid that I smash in it. So as he's leaping at me, I'm going to take out another one of those and go to break it to put out those flames, and just leave him as a damaged man laying on the ground.
All right, that sounds like a withstand roll.
Which is iron.
Yes.
Nine. So
Okay.
that gives me a couple choices. This is the one where it creates an opening, but then I pick one. Okay. I think because I know it's coming that I can roll with the blow, and I also, using this blast kind of takes some of his power and energy away from him, so he's not able to hit me as hard.
All right, nice. So you're actually, you're already sort of jumping back as you throw this vial into the ground, and yes, there's an eruption of ice crystals around him, and it's it does put the fire out, such that when he sort of lands and sort of staggers but still sort of swings that fist into you, you only take 1 harm, plus 1 harm from using the ice vial.
Okay.
Because it is painful.
And I'm actually going to take a wound for that last harm and say that I'm frostbit.
Sounds good. Do you want to mark contamination or frenzy?
I'll mark contamination, I think.
Okay, putting you up to 4 blood.
Does that put me up to 4 blood? Is it every 3?
Yep.
Oh, I thought it was every 5. Okay.
No.
Wow.
Join the
There
4
we
blood
go.
club.
Yeah.
So you get to add onto a stat. But yeah, he is staggering forwards as he's now a charred and wounded creature. You can see that the clothes, that fine crimson robe, has almost sort of melted onto him, and he is like a charcoal in fire that has almost been snuffed out and is barely glowing from within with his own power. What do you do?
I mean, I'm just gonna walk up to him and use my dagger to just end his threat. Run it across his neck and leave him there on the ground.
All right. That sounds like a iron for just straight up stabbing a guy.
Good, and that was a 7.
Okay, it's enough.
Oh, and you get to pick one. All right.
Yes. I think it's probably appropriate for him to lash out at you. So I'll say that he's just sort of blundering towards you, trying to grab you, trying to sort of hold you and do some final hurt to you, and his arm swings down and connects with your shoulder, but you just sort of calmly reach up with your dagger and slice his throat, and he sort of collapses to the floor, his blood leaking out, but there's barely any of it in there, and it's this sort of thick tarry sludge. And he sort of claps it to one knee, still holding you, and you sort of go down on one knee too, and just sort of stabbing him in the chest as you do so. That fire burning within him still sears at you. So you'll take another 2 harm, I think, as you end his life.
And that takes me to 5.
Yes. So you take a deadly wound. You can choose one of the 2. Full unconscious until the end of the fight, or trigger your death move.
Let's see here. I mean, I think it makes the most sense to trigger my death move. I kind of want to see how this happens.
All right. Okay. So as death takes hold, you perform one final work, an alchemy of the soul. Each explorer with you may transfer 1 point of blood to you, losing a blood advance of their choice, but keeping the stat advance or blood gift. For each, one part of your body becomes a relic usable in arcane rites. So,
yeah.
What does this look like, this ritual, this magic?
So I can feel, my own life ebbing away, and I take some of the blood of the Regent and mix it with my own, and put some markings on my face, and you can hear the summoned creature, was an imp, I think, in the corner, like gasping, "Oh God, what is she doing?" And my eyes, there's like a bright burst of energy, and I fall over dead. And my third arm, that skeletal arm, I think is one of the relics. Well, I guess so. This is a May. Are people going to transfer blood?
I think we should probably have a simultaneous declaration for this. Like, so.
I need that blood.
So I think I'm going to go the other direction to set up this final conflict. So
Okay.
I think I'm going to I'll drop 1 blood.
What blood are you at, Aaron?
I'm at 4 with 2 contamination. So
I'm at 4 with 2 contamination as well.
Yeah. So I think so. Part of this bloodline. I was looking over the bloodline moves. So part of this bloodline privileges self-sacrifice, and so so I think on one level they'd want a record of it, and on another level, Alexandria also wants to sacrifice something of herself, but not in the sort of way, not in the contamination way. I'm pulling back from the edge. As you hurtle closer to the edge.
All right. Yeah. So you could transfer all 4 to.
So I think what I'll do.
Oh no! Wait, you can only transfer 1. Sorry, I'm wrong. I'm reading the move again.
I think what I want to do is I want to pull. I'll just take 1 from him, but I also want to amputate the node of corruption.
Okay.
Because. That also, I will lose a point of blood and a blood gift, and the removed body part counts as another relic.
Okay. So you can feel Julia's sacrifice pulling some of the siren song of the castle away from you. It's only when you step back from the edge that you realize how close you were to falling off. And I suppose you look at these sort of dark onyx hands just sort of reeking of evil now. And you realize that they need to go. So how do you get rid of them?
I think what do I do? I can either have the summoned spirit sort of take them in some sort of ritual, or I can ask Hector to do it. I don't know if that's something that Hector would. I don't know that Alexandria would trust Hector to do it. I think I'm gonna have the spirit do it, or maybe they both have to. Maybe like they because it's 2 arms, right? So maybe she lies down next to Julia's body, or maybe like encapsulate, hugs Julia's body. Maybe that. So hugging Julia's body, and as Julia passes so too do these arms that just sort of like fall off. They just like slough off my body.
Okay. Well, I mean, it can just be the hands if you prefer.
Oh, hell no.
All right. Okay. Nice. 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 All right. So yeah, you take a major wound, which is harmless, I guess, or something similar. So what I'll say happens then, yes, is Julia collapses. You feel this power from the Regent sort of just completely dissipate. And all the acolytes that were sort of closing in on you, the two of you were sort of readying yourself to fight this endless horde. They sort of turn their heads up to the sky and scream a moan of anguish. Then jets of fire burn out from them and then just utterly consume them, and they fall to the floor. That that wall of fire that Hector summoned also drops as the power of the castle that was creating it flickers out for a second. And you see Julia down there just sort of finishing off this rite, and you rush to her, put your arms around her, and you can feel that blood, that corruption coming out of you, and you know what needs to be done. And with a wrench that is not as painful as you would have expected, because the shield maiden is helping you through it, these arms just come off and lie on the floor and sort of curl up and blacken and crystallize. So you're in a lot of pain. Hector, to your eyes, this place is wavering like a mirage. There is this theming over it, this ecclesiastical ambience aesthetic that has been put on it, that is now just sort of wavering and melting away and just revealing the true power. You realize that to your eyes, it's almost like you're standing in a lake of blood up to your knees, and there is just this great vessel of it in the center. A vessel that's almost feels infinite power. What do you do?
Okay, so Alexandria is still kind of embracing the body at this point, or is that not the case? What's going on, Aaron?
Embracing is a strong word.
Yeah, without arms at this point. But where are you? What are you doing?
So they're on the dais. They are right next to where the throne was, because that's where Julia was when she died.
Okay.
The throne also is where the source of all this power is.
Yeah. Okay. I think I will start to walk towards Alexandria. I think it'll be kind of a slow walk as I'm kind of taking in everything that's here, you know, the blood, just kind of wading slowly through this blood as I make my way towards Alexandria. I think the first thing I'll do is go to Alexandria and look you in the eyes. And I think I say, you know, my eyes see much, but I was never able to see anything past our confrontation with the Regent that was dark to me. It's like I look at your arms and I look at what you've done with your, you know, the blood and the corruption and how that's been passed on. And I think I say, I see now. I see how this is supposed to end. And I think my first action before I do anything is to actually kind of bandage up your arms a little bit. I think I'll stay there and actually try to help you. I'll be like, you need to live. You need to pass on what you've learned about the castle. You have to make sure that your bloodline is ready for the next time. And so I'll bandage you up. And then I think I'm going to mark one final corruption here. So I'm going to, I'm at 4 blood, but I haven't taken all the blood advances. I got 1 extra blood from another move, like one of the, I can't remember if it was a shelter move or something else like that. So I still have 1 more blood gift I can take. So I think I'm going to, after I'm done bandaging you up, I kind of put my hand like, you know, out towards you. And at this point, I think because our goals are so different, it says if a foe is within your reach of you, you can mark contamination and reshape the castle. So I think there's going to be a burst of starlight, and it's going to be like a dome of translucent, like kind of oily, shimmery starlight that surrounds me and the Grail at this point, because that's what I'm near right now, right?
Mm.
Yeah, so you're on the outside of this, I think, and then I think I turn towards the Grail and start making my way there.
All right. So yeah, there's Alexandria. It's the ground beneath you shifts and cracks. Well, you realize that this whole structure is shifting and feeding more and more insubstantial. And then, yes, this dome of starlight erupts and cuts off the center of the dais from you, and you start sort of drifting away in this starlit void. And you can see Hector walking toward raised section of the dais, rising up and filling with deep crimson. What do you do?
Okay. So I am separated now, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a barricade of. There's basically a barrier of starlight between you and Hector.
Okay. I'm gonna see. Here's what I'd like to do. I want to bring Julia back up off the bench. So
Okay.
I think that in the ritual to that sort of harness this contamination, I had to de-summon the spirit, right? De-summon the medium.
Yes.
And I think what I do is I how does this work? I imagine her like inscribing a new story around Julia's sacrifice on her other arm. And in doing so, I invoke Julia's return on the other side of this barricade, because I'm not going to be any help.
Well, I mean, so just to check, how are you inscribing this again?
I don't know. I think maybe the tattoos are not like physical tattoos, but they're sort of like they're magic tattoos.
So there's just this sort of glowing outline of the tattoos where your arm should be.
Oh yeah, that's right. I don't have arms. Maybe it's
it's a little detail, but a bit important. So actually, one thing that we never got to do was one of the things you can do with covenants is you can call on them for aid, and distant or dead characters can answer.
I like that.
So that's the summon aid move.
Summon aid. Yeah.
Whoops.
I shall do this. Can I summon them all? Can I bring back all the greatest hits? I want who is it? Zithar and
who do you have covenants with?
Who did I have covenants with? Just Hector and Julia. Son of a.
Oh, you just don't care about them enough.
I do not. Our worlds work. So yeah, so I will summon. If Julia is interested, I will summon Julia back for one last fight.
All right. Julia, your shade steps out of the shadows near Hector, inside this dome of starlight. You are gauzy and insubstantial.
Right.
But still, well, substantial where it counts.
Okay. I'm very confused, obviously. But so we're trying to prevent Hector from taking the Grail?
Well, you can do what you want.
Okay.
What have I done?
I'm honestly kind of at a loss. So I'm within this starlit dome, and there's Hector in the Grail. I think I would try and talk him down from taking the Grail.
All right. Well, what do you say?
So kind of whispering to him over his shoulder, that this isn't the way. The Regent. The Regency is evil. You have experienced this firsthand. You don't need to fall. to the evil of the castle.
So I want to clarify before I answer to that. I want to clarify, if I take the Grail, I'm trying to find exactly the list of how that works and what happens. Like if I
That's
do
on
that.
bloodline and generation moves.
Bloodline generation. Okay.
Looking for Gnosis there.
Can I also ask you a quick question here?
Yes.
I also have a covenant with Hector.
Yes.
What Hector has just taken their final contamination and fallen to darkness, right?
What's that?
Yes.
I have taken. I don't have to retire my character yet though. So I've taken 2 blood gifts. I've gotten the +1 to each stat. So those are the 4 advances. But I also got 1 blood from another source. So I've got 5 blood.
A 5 blood, you do mark Fall to Darkness no matter what.
Oh really? Even if
Yeah.
okay. I thought that I
I'm
still
not
had.
quite sure where you got that other blood from.
It was. I remember it being from another source during like a downtime, I can't remember if it was a like a shelter move or something like that. That I got an extra. I had a choice to take a blood there. I think. I remember that happening a couple sessions ago, unless I'm mistaken. Sorry if I've messed it up.
Yes, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, it's not like it's out of line for how you've been acting.
Yeah.
I'm just
Messing everything up.
Oops.
Yeah. No, I can't think of anything that would be. No worries. I mean, so up to you. I mean, the thing is that even if you marked it and you're at 5 blood now, that kicks in at the end of the scene. So you're in the process of.
I'm fine with that then.
Over. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm cool with that.
But so this is just an idea.
Yep.
I don't know that it now makes sense, but I'll throw it out there. Which is that not only do I summon Julia, whom I have a covenant with, but I summon the Hector that has fallen to darkness, and Hector splits in 2.
Right.
One Hector that is dark and one Hector that is light. The Hector that is light fighting on the side of Julia to prevent the Hector that has fallen from achieving this grail. You do with that what you will. The idea is out there in the world.
Yeah, I mean, Hector, you can feel Alexandria calling to you, trying to appeal to your better nature.
Yeah.
It's entirely optional.
Yeah. What does happen? I'm trying to figure out where it shows that what happens mechanically with the thing, because like that'll determine, I guess,
Which
Hector's
thing, sorry?
motivation. What happens when I embrace the Grail? I'm still trying to find that here.
Oh, can you?
I don't know where it is.
Can you see the Bloodline and Generations move?
Bloodline Generations. Oh, it's on. On the explore on the move sheet, or is it not on the move sheet?
If you look in the folder, there's a Bloodline and Generations move.
There
image.
it is. I didn't have that one open. Okay.
Right.
Sorry about that. Okay. So victory. If you leave the castle without claiming the when you know. Okay. So I get 1 wish from the Grail: life everlasting, resurrection of the dead, insight from beyond, get a new bloodline move, wealth of kings, peace on earth, purification. Okay. I think Hector believes that this is just the way that it has to be. I think that there might be a pull to not do this, but I think unless someone somehow stops me, I'm gonna I'll turn to the is it really a corporeal form of Julia at this point? Is it like real living Julia, or is it not?
Well, it's sort of like I know, a sort of monochrome Julia, not quite monochrome, but not all there, but physically present.
Okay.
Like a ghost that has manifested,
Yeah. I think then Hector looks at Julia and says, I understand your fears. I know that this will cause some more problems, but I think the good that will come from it will be better than not. I think I look back at Alexandria and I say that your bloodline will be needed the next time the castle arises, and they'll need you to teach them. And then I look at this incorporeal form, or this kind of strange form of Julia, and I'm like, and Julia, your work isn't done yet either. And I think if I'm able to take the Grail, I'm actually going to resurrect Julia to make sure that those two bloodlines can be as ready as possible for the next cycle of the castle. So I think Hector has seen just at least glimpses of. I think we might see like a few like flash frames of future starved and future. I'm sorry. What is the name of your bloodline?
The Holy Church, the Archivists.
Yeah, the Archivists. I think we see those two, just incredibly strong, prepared, and just incredibly prepared for the next incursion of the castle. And I think that's, I'm like, this is the sacrifice that the Path of Conflagration knew would be necessary.
Nice.
To make sure that those bloodlines survive.
So yeah, you turn your back on them and reach for the Grail, and it just sort of.
I have a question too.
Yes?
I have a question. So oftentimes it's been like things are reflected in my eyes before we, see them happen in real life. I want to ask you, what would we see reflected in Hector's eyes here as he's reaching towards the Grail? Because I think that's a good opportunity for you.
All right. So I feel like there's this sort of fatalist feeling coming from Hector at the moment, right? Like he's doing this because he's already seen it and can't see any other way. So I think what he sees is the future. He sees a vision of another world, another landscape, another this world, but changed elsewhere. And he is looking out at it, but he is looking out at it with avarice and greed and some dark eldritch hunger burning in the center of his mind. But as he looks out, he can see the forces arrayed against him. He can see the towers of the castle that he has raised falling and crumbling to dust, and he knows that this is the path to the eternal destruction of this place. And then he grabs it, and there's a burst of bright light that pushes back and pushes away at the two of you, Julia and Alexandria. And Julia, you feel breath returning to your lungs. You feel your heart pound in your chest as the power of this light floods into you and brings you back to life. And yes, you can collect up. You pick yourself up and you can collect these many scattered limbs now imbued with holy power. And Alexandria is there beside you. And you can see this sort of burning fire, this conflagration in the center of the chamber. And around you, the ground crumbling and falling away. So, the two of you can flee this castle. And you, because you left the castle without claiming the Grail, can pick one of the options for spoils of victory there. So these are unlocked by your blood.
Can we pick a lesser one? So like
Yes.
I qualify for... Okay, awesome.
We can only choose one, right?
Yes.
All right, I think Alexandria is going to... I have 2 blood at this point. So I think she's going to take... what's a ward? 1 ward will remain in its current form for the rest of time.
So that's one of the sections of the castle, like, for example, the underwater baptismal or the menagerie or the extra-dimensional crystal spheres.
Yeah. I think I'm trying to choose between imbuing the skills into a piece of gear. I don't really have a piece of gear that seems interesting enough to do this. So maybe it's just your explorer forces permanent
You've got
order.
your book.
I'm sorry?
You've got the book that's attached to your arm.
Yeah. Hell yeah. All right, let's do that. I am going to instill my skills into a piece of gear. Describe how they pass it down to the next generation when they use it. They can access. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe this is where Alexandria writes the story of Julia and Alexandria, and that sort of gets inscribed into this journal, which then gets passed on to the next generation.
Okay, what move goes along with it?
What move goes along with it? Let's say I think the move that sort of mattered most when it came down to it was maybe medium.
Okay.
Or is it? It's not a blood move, is it? It's a
Oh no, yeah, sorry, it's one of your character moves.
character move.
These sort of playbook moves. Oh, they're all starting moves, that's the one.
Yeah. In which case, I'll start where we began, which is with spiritual fusion.
Nice.
Spirit.
So any one of your Bloodmine members who holds this book can use it to summon that Shield Maiden for 8. All right. What does Julia do as she escapes the castle?
She's going to do the same. Her little trip into the across the other side of the veil made her realize just how close she came to falling to the castle. And so she's going to imbue all her abilities into her dagger, the ceremonial dagger, which is going to carry over the soul vessel move.
Wonderful. All right. Okay, so that's how you two prepare your next generation for the castle's re-emergence. So that is the end of the castle's attempt to corrupt the world of Rome in 1523. When next it emerges, maybe the archivists and the starved will be there to face it stronger than ever. Maybe the path of conflagration will be there with them, looking to maybe redeem the bloodline a little and show that the sacrifice of Hector was worth it. But that's another story. Thank you all. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.
This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
And perhaps that story will happen another time. Yes. So, we're probably going to do I'm probably going to post in the Slack for a debrief in Discord just so anyone can chime in if they want to. Any roses and thorns for the session?
Did it feel like I went too far with any of the stuff that I was doing towards the end there, guys? Did I step on toes or anything like that? I was trying not to without, while still trying to do something fun. Okay. I tried to.
I think we all went a little mad there.
I think that's the fun of it, right? Right at the end of this thing, man, especially with the cycle about to, start again for, future adventures and stuff. I think that's the time to go big and weird.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd certainly put that down as a plus point. It's something that's true of Legacy as well, I think, but that the fact that there is a defined endpoint for your characters really sort of encourages a resolution of things.
Absolutely. Lets you really consciously build towards things, and I think that's awesome. And then get to see the fallout of it in the future, hopefully. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Cool.
Yeah, this is great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would love to see in a final version of this game?
Let's see.
Is there anything you'd want to see to help you run this game if running games is a thing that you often do?
Yeah.
I think structurally, just the or visually, I guess is the better way of putting this. Because we have so many different, well, not so many different. We have the two sets of moves, right? We have the Bloodline moves and the Explorer moves.
Yeah.
I think visually it would be helpful to have the Bloodline moves with the Explorer moves, because it essentially, the function is that there are 3 different places to look for moves, right? The Explorer moves, the Bloodline moves, and then the actual moves.
Yeah.
And I think, just having that closer together. So for instance, like some of the Bloodline moves that I never used, where between saved another Bloodline from falling to darkness, raise your pact with them. Maybe we did those at the outset.
Yeah.
The one is, well, at one of your camps, other Bloodlines can spend 1 pact on you to take a relic from your stores. I think that we could have done something with that if I had been more attentive to or remember that those moves were there. It took me 3 sessions to remember. Oh, right, the flesh is weak. That was fucking cool. I want to do that.
Yeah.
That's just a visual thing.
Yeah.
So I might on the because the way I have it set up currently for printed playbooks that you can have in front of you at the table is that you have 1 sheet for the Bloodline and 1 for the Explorer. Oh, and as a side note, someone mentioned that they came from the house of, I think it might have been Derek mentioning the thing, and that might be a nice replacement for Bloodline, actually. What with sort of preventing confusion with blood and bloodline, and blood not being a bloodline stat and that sort of thing. I don't know. But so anyway, I got distracted. With the Bloodline playbooks, I might mark down which ones will be used by characters mainly, rather than in downtime, and then just have a slot on the character sheet for you to write those down. I think that's probably a good move.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It is kind of tricky looking back and forth between stuff. I get the need for it with those 2 different things being, the character being separate from the bloodline, and everything. But referencing it would be a lot easier with paper in front of me if I had those sheets sitting like next to each other, kind of deal. That would be easier. It's a little trickier for online play, I think, going back and forth between different windows. But yeah. But overall, I like it a lot. I'm really enjoying the system, and I think as far as like GM tools and stuff, like, are you? What kind of stuff are you planning to have for aid in creating wards and acolytes and stuff like that? I think having plenty of inspiration for that, and just I don't know, that would be incredibly helpful because of how varied they are. I love how varied the wards were and how thematic and strange and different and everything, but that would be a little trickier to build from scratch, I think, without real guidance.
So yeah, I currently have a couple of pages on deciding a theme for a ward, building that theme out into the minions in that ward, working out what each acolyte's deal is, working out what the regent's deal is. So
cool.
And maybe 3 or 4 different example acolytes I should write this.
Nice.
Yeah. Plus, cool. Your agenda and principles and reactions and that sort of thing.
Totally.
Is the structure of Rhapsody always supposed to be a single regent and then what are they, acolytes, did we determine?
Yeah.
And then minions underneath them?
Yeah.
Okay.
So one thing just comes to mind is, so the acolytes are meant to be based on what you guys picked in the setup session.
Right.
So for example, there was, the beast that cursed Julia.
Sure.
There was whatever was causing the celestial conjunction or doing bad things with it. You never went to the museum where the holy relics were, but the acolyte art designed for that was essentially a bunch of museum attendants holding holy relics in the shape of a crusading knight, and they just sort of move them and animate them as a fight. Mm-hmm. And that sounded quite fun. But
nice.
Yeah. All right, I think that sounds great. That sounds like it was I hope you all had a fun time and a good resolution of the story. So I'm probably going to have a break for a drink, etc., and probably post a link in the Slack when I'm ready to debrief in the Discord, if you guys cool with that.
Yeah,
Great.
sounds great.
Thank you so much for this. It was really fun. And you guys were a perfect player group for me to start Gauntlet Hangouts jamming with. Very, very friendly and accepting of technical difficulties.
Yeah, had a lot of fun. Thanks a ton for running it.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Really quick, I don't think I'll be able to make the Discord. That's all I wanted to add in, but I had a great time, so thanks.
No worries. I had a really great fun playing with Julia.